You're watching helplessly as your wife is being led away by the most powerful man on earth. You can't move a muscle. You can't speak a single word. Around you, 50 other senators sit frozen in place, their wine cups trembling violently in their hands. Some are praying desperately she'll return safely. You're praying she won't say anything that gets you both killed. 20 minutes pass, like 20 agonizing years. Your mind races through every possible horror. Your hands are clenched so tightly your nails draw blood from your palms. When he finally brings her back, he doesn't just return her to your side. He sits down beside you. He pours himself wine casually, as if nothing happened. And then, in front of everyone you know, everyone who matters, he begins to describe in graphic clinical detail exactly what just happened in that private room. Your colleagues are staring down at their plates, their faces drained of color. Your wife is staring at absolutely nothing, her eyes vacant, her hands shaking, and you have to smile warmly. You have to nod approvingly. You have to thank him profusely, because the alternative is watching your children die, screaming. This wasn't madness. This was a machine, a system designed with surgical precision to destroy the human soul completely. And the man who built it learned everything he knew by watching his entire family get systematically murdered by the previous emperor. His name was Caligula, and what he did to Rome is so disturbing, so systematically evil, that 2,000 years later, we're still desperately trying to understand how one human being could architect this level of psychological warfare. If you believe that the documented records of history's most terrifying figures must be remembered and studied, consider liking this video and subscribing. Your support unearths more accounts from the darkest corners of the human story. Now, back to the man who turned cruelty into an art form. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear gets worse, much worse. And the most terrifying part isn't what he did. It's that the system he built outlived him by centuries. Before I show you the 5 acts of Caligula's terror machine, you need to understand something absolutely crucial. He wasn't born evil. He was manufactured deliberately. And the process started when he was just 7 years old. Picture this scene. The year is 14 AD. A little boy, maybe 6 or 7, is running through a Roman military camp. He's wearing a miniature legionnaire uniform complete with tiny armor and little red boots. The soldiers are laughing, picking him up, tossing him in the air. They call him Caligula, Little Boots. He's the son of Germanicus, Rome's greatest general. The soldiers worship his father and adore this kid. This boy is growing up thinking he's invincible, loved, protected by the most powerful army on earth. He has no idea what's coming. 1 year later, his father dies suddenly. The official story: sudden illness. The whispered story, heard in every dark corner of Rome: poison, they say, their voices dropping, carefully administered, ordered by someone close to the emperor. Maybe the emperor himself. Caligula is only 8 years old when the machine starts destroying his family. His mother dragged from their home, screaming, "I am the granddaughter of Augustus. You cannot do this." But they could. His oldest brother arrested, imprisoned, starved until he tried to eat the stuffing from his mattress. His second brother, exiled to an island where guards tortured him until he smashed his own head against the walls to end it. One by one, they're erased, and young Caligula watches it all happen. He learns that showing love, it means giving your enemies a weapon. By the time he's 19, he's the last one left. And then comes the summons. Emperor Tiberius wants to see him immediately. Tiberius has turned Capri into his personal fortress, far from Rome, far from the Senate, far from anyone who might object. The ancient historians describe it as a house of horrors. Tiberius has become deeply paranoid, thoroughly depraved, inventing new cruelties. And into this nightmarish environment walks teenage Caligula. He knows Tiberius murdered his family, everyone knows it, but he can't show it. One wrong look and he's dead. So he doesn't just survive, he excels brilliantly. Suetonius writes something absolutely chilling. There never was a better servant or worse master. Caligula learns to bury everything human deep inside him. He becomes exactly what Tiberius wants: obedient, entertaining, utterly harmless. For 6 long years, he plays this role perfectly. And then, in 37 AD, Tiberius dies. Some say natural causes, others say Caligula smothered him with a pillow, finally taking revenge. Either way, the 19-year-old hostage is now the most powerful person on earth. Rome celebrates wildly in the streets. Germanicus' son, they cry. They think they're getting the son of beloved Germanicus. They have no idea. They've just crowned a man who spent 6 years learning how to break human beings from the greatest monster in Roman history. And for 7 months, everything seems absolutely perfect. Then he gets sick, fever ravages his body, and the person who wakes up is not the same person who went to sleep. When Caligula recovered, something inside him had shattered completely, and Rome was about to learn what he'd been hiding all along. What I'm about to describe isn't random violence. It's not the acts of a madman. Caligula built a system deliberately. 5 distinct acts of psychological warfare, each one designed to destroy a different part of the human spirit. And the truly terrifying part is how methodical it was. Let me show you the blueprint. Act 1 of the machine, the sister goddess. Caligula had 3 sisters, but one Drusilla was different. Ancient sources say their relationship crossed lines that even Rome found disturbing. And Caligula didn't just allow the rumors, he encouraged them actively. Then Drusilla died suddenly. They say he held her hand as the life drained from her eyes, whispering, "Don't leave me. Not you. Please, not you." He doesn't just mourn, he weaponizes mourning. First, he has the Senate declare Drusilla a goddess officially, not metaphorically, officially. There are now temples to his dead sister, where Romans are required to worship, to kneel before her image and pray. Then, he declares a period of public mourning. And here's where it becomes truly monstrous. It is now a capital crime to laugh. It is now a capital crime to bathe. It is now a capital crime to have dinner with your family. Imagine living like that. Your child tells a joke at breakfast, innocent, unaware. Do you laugh? Do you join in their joy? Or do you discipline them harshly for being a child? Teach them that happiness itself is dangerous. Every moment of joy becomes a potential death sentence. Every smile must be hidden, crushed down, swallowed like poison. He's making Rome feel his pain, whether they want to or not. He's learning he can legislate emotion, criminalize happiness, make his inner world everyone's reality. And once he realizes he can control how people feel, he starts experimenting with what else he can take from them. Act 2 of the machine, the Imperial brothel. This next part is so deeply disturbing that historians still debate whether it actually happened or was later propaganda. But here's what the ancient sources claim. Caligula establishes a brothel inside the imperial palace, not for himself, for the public. And it's not staffed by common prostitutes. It's staffed by the sons and daughters of Rome's noble families. He has heralds announce the prices publicly. Different rates for married women versus unmarried. Special rates for virgins from senatorial families. And here's the detail that makes it so cruel. He allegedly kept ledgers, detailed records, names, dates, transactions. Think about what this does psychologically. If you're a Roman nobleman, your entire identity is built on family honor. And now your daughter is being advertised in the streets like livestock, and there's a ledger with her name in it. And you can do absolutely nothing about it because the alternative is execution, watching your entire family die. He's not just taking their bodies, he's taking the one thing Roman aristocracy valued more than life itself: their reputation, their legacy, their family name. Act 3 of The Machine, the banquet of predation. You're at an imperial banquet, you're sitting with your wife. Around you are 50, maybe 100 other senators with their wives. Everyone's drinking wine that tastes like fear. Caligula stands slowly, everyone goes silent. He walks slowly between the tables, looking at the women. His eyes are clinical, evaluative. He's choosing. He stops at your table. Your heart stops with him. He looks at your wife intently. He inspects her like a horse he's buying. He doesn't ask permission, doesn't acknowledge you exist. He just takes her hand and leads her away. She doesn't resist. She knows the rules. You sit there motionless, your fingers gripping your wine cup so hard you think it might shatter. Everyone is pretending this isn't happening because everyone knows if you stand up, if you object, you won't leave this room alive. And neither will she, and neither will your children. So you wait. 20 minutes? 30. The conversation around you is forced, hollow. Finally, he brings her back. She sits down beside you. She won't look at you. And then he sits down too. He stays right there. And in front of everyone, your friends, your colleagues, your rivals, he begins to describe what just happened in vivid detail. Clinical, graphic detail. She was reluctant at first, he says, his voice casual, conversational. He's rating her performance, comparing her to other senators' wives, making crude jokes that make your stomach turn. And you have to smile. You have to laugh at his jokes. Your laughter hollow in your own ears. You have to nod like this is all perfectly normal, perfectly fine. Just another dinner story. He's not just violating your wife. He's destroying you completely. Everything that makes you a man in Roman society, he's taking it in front of everyone who matters. This is the genius of the machine. He's not just destroying individuals, he's destroying the social fabric itself, making everyone complicit, making everyone a witness to everyone else's degradation. But we're only at Act 3, and what comes next is so much worse that modern psychologists have studied it as a case study in systematic psychological torture. Because Caligula realizes there's one bond even stronger than marriage, the bond between parent and child. This is Act 4 of The Machine, the grieving father. Caligula begins executing people not for treason, not for crimes, not for anything resembling justice, just because he's bored or annoyed, or because he wants to see what happens, wants to test the limits of his power. And he develops a new protocol, a refinement of his cruelty. If he's executing someone's son, the father has to watch. Not from a distance, not hearing about it later, up close, front row seat, close enough to see his child's face, to hear every sound. But here's what elevates it from simple cruelty to systematic torture. The historian Suetonius records a specific incident that reveals the true horror. A father watches his son executed brutally, the blade falling, the blood spreading. Caligula then immediately has this man brought to the imperial palace for dinner. That same night, the body is still warm, still bleeding somewhere in the streets. The father is sitting at Caligula's table, his hands somehow steady, his face somehow composed. And Caligula watches him, just watches, studying his face intently, like he's conducting an experiment, like a scholar examining a rare specimen. He's checking to see if the father will cry, if he'll show grief, any sign of pain, any crack in the mask. Because if he does, if he shows any emotion at all, Caligula will know he hasn't broken him completely, that there's still something human left to destroy, still some final piece of the soul to crush. So, the father sits there eating food he can't taste, each bite like ash in his mouth, making conversation he can't hear, his own voice sounding distant and strange, while his son's body cools in some dark alley, discarded like garbage, and the man who ordered it killed is analyzing his facial expressions for entertainment, for amusement, studying the subtle tremor of his lip, the moisture gathering in the corner of his eye. He's not just taking your child. He's taking your right to grieve. He's turning the deepest human bond, parent and child, into a source of terror instead of comfort. Because now, if you love someone deeply, that love becomes a weapon against you. The more you care, the more vulnerable you are, the more he can hurt you. He's making love itself dangerous, transforming the most sacred human emotion into your greatest weakness. And here's what nobody expected. The machine had a fatal flaw. Because while Caligula was busy destroying senators and noblemen, people who were trained to accept humiliation, who understood politics deeply, who could rationalize their suffering as the price of survival, he made one crucial mistake. He aimed his casual everyday cruelty at the wrong type of person. A soldier. Final act of the machine, the wrong man. His name was Cassius Dio, senior officer in the Praetorian Guard, the emperor's personal bodyguards. These are the elite, the men who stand inches from Caligula every single day, armed, trained, absolutely lethal, hardened by years of combat. Dio had one physical characteristic that Caligula found endlessly amusing. A high-pitched voice, somewhat effeminate, unusual for a soldier of his rank and reputation. And Caligula, true to form, couldn't let it go. Every single day, new jokes, new mockery. "There's our little songbird," Caligula would say, his voice dripping with contempt. "Sing for us, Dio. Let us hear that sweet voice." And here's the specific detail that shows how casual his cruelty had become. When it was Dio's turn to ask for the daily password, a military protocol, something done in front of all the other guards with military precision, Caligula would assign him passwords like Venus or Priapus, deliberately effeminate or sexual words that would make the other soldiers smirk day after day, week after week. The same humiliation, repeated endlessly, grinding down his dignity like stone wearing away underwater. For Caligula, and it was throwaway humor barely worth remembering, just another joke among thousands. For Dio, every joke was a drop of poison, accumulating, building, corroding something deep inside. But Dio was a soldier, a man trained for violence since childhood, a man who stood next to the emperor every single day with a sword on his hip, his hand resting on the pommel. And Caligula had just taught him that life under this emperor wasn't worth living, because Caligula had become so confident in his system, so certain that fear would always win, so drunk on his own power that he forgot the most basic rule of predators. Never corner something that can kill you. January 24th, 41 AD. Caligula is attending the theater, the Palatine Games in full swing. He's in a good mood, almost cheerful. He's been organizing games, performances, spectacles. In a few hours, there's going to be a play. Around midday, he decides to leave through a narrow underground corridor, a passageway that connects the theater to the palace. It's dimly lit, claustrophobic with rough stone walls on both sides pressing in. The perfect trap. The conspirators are waiting silently in the shadows, their breathing controlled, their hands on their weapons. Cherished steps forward as Caligula approaches, his movements casual, routine. This is normal. Guards always check in with the emperor, standard protocol. He asks for the day's password, and Caligula, completely unaware, totally secure in his invincibility, certain that fear has made him untouchable, gives one final sneering, mocking response. It's the last thing he ever says. Cherished screams, "Take this!" His voice, that high-pitched voice that Caligula mocked for so long, now filled with years of accumulated rage, and he drives his sword up under Caligula's ribs, feeling the blade slide between bone into soft flesh. Caligula stumbles, his eyes wide with shock and disbelief. He tries to run desperately, but there's nowhere to go. The corridor is too narrow. There are conspirators at both ends, blocking any escape. They swarm him like wolves on wounded prey. 30 stab wounds, according to the sources. 30 times the blade goes in violently, each thrust carrying years of hate, of humiliation, of fear. They don't stop until there's nothing left that could possibly be alive. Until the emperor, who thought himself a god, lies broken and bleeding on the stone floor. 4 years of accumulated rage, humiliation, and terror, released in 60 seconds of frenzied violence. The monster is dead, and that's when it gets worse. The conspirators don't stop with Caligula. They find his wife, Suetonius. She knows what's happened. She can hear the screaming echoing through the palace corridors. She's begging desperately, pleading, trying to reason with armed men who've just killed an emperor, whose hands are still wet with his blood. "Please," she says, "I have a child. Please." They stab her to death anyway. Her blood pools on the marble floors. Then they find the nursery. Caligula's daughter, Julia Drusilla, is 2 years old. Maybe 3, the sources disagree. She's crying, confused by the noise, the shouting. A soldier picks her up, this tiny child who doesn't understand what's happening, who reaches for him thinking he'll protect her. And while she's crying for her mother, her small voice calling, "Mama, Mama," he swings her head first into a marble wall. The sound echoes. They have to make sure there's no heir. No one who could grow up and seek vengeance. No child who could rally loyalists. So they kill a toddler. This is what happens when the machine breaks. It doesn't just stop. It devours everything connected to it. For a few hours, it seems like Rome might actually change. The Senate gathers. Some want to restore the Republic. For the first time in generations, there's real discussion about what Rome should be. And then the Praetorian Guard makes a decision. While the Senate is talking, the guard is looting the palace. One of them hears something behind a curtain. He pulls it back and finds a man hiding there, trembling, middle-aged, with a stutter and a limp. Claudius, Caligula's uncle, the family embarrassment. The guard looks at him, and he doesn't see a harmless fool. He sees a new emperor. The Praetorians carry Claudius to their camp and proclaim him emperor. While the Senate is still debating the future of the Republic, the army has already decided. The system survived. Here's what haunts me about this story. Caligula ruled for less than 4 years. 4 years. In the scope of Roman history, that's nothing. A blip, a footnote, barely a paragraph. And yet, 2,000 years later, we're still talking about him, still trying to understand why. Because Caligula proved something terrifying about power. He showed that the entire machinery of a state, its laws, its military, its economy, its bureaucracy can be turned into instruments of personal psychological warfare. He didn't work outside the system, he made the system his weapon. And when he died, the system didn't die with him. It just found a new operator. That's the real horror. Not that one man was a monster, but that the machine he built kept running without him. Nero burning Rome and blaming Christians, Domitian executing people for looking at him wrong, Commodus forcing senators to watch him fight as a gladiator, Elagabalus doing things so disturbing, I literally cannot describe them on this platform. The blueprint remained intact. The machine kept evolving because Caligula revealed a truth about power that Rome could never unlearn. When one person controls everything, there's no mechanism to stop them. No checks, no balances. Nothing but waiting for them to die or be killed. Suetonius wrote that Caligula was the best of servants and the worst of masters. He learned tyranny by pretending to be the perfect subject. He studied under Tiberius, watched how a monster operates, and then he perfected it. After Claudius became emperor, he had most of Caligula's records destroyed completely. Which means what I just told you, the 5 acts, the systematic terror. That's just what survived the purge. Imagine what was so disturbing that even in an empire that crucified thousands, they decided it needed to be erased from history. Caligula ruled for 3 years, 9 months, and 8 days. In that time, he built a machine that showed every future tyrant exactly how to break human beings systematically, psychologically, completely. And the blueprint never disappeared. If you found this story compelling, subscribe for more deep dives into history's darkest chapters. Hit that subscribe button to join me as we continue exploring the shadows of human history.